Hi friends, David here from Above AVL, Learn Stage Lighting and Learn Stage Audio. And today I'm really pumped because we are looking at the new Airwave 5200 series featuring the 5210, 5220, and what we'll be technically looking at today, the 5250, though really we're looking at all of them. So these are some new wireless systems upgraded from the previous 4000 series that we shot our review, and then Airwave reached out. When we reached out to them, they said, hey, by the way, there's something new coming. And today we've got the something new. Let's dive in. So if you've watched a review of the Airwave 4000 series, you're going to see a lot of things in common here, but I want to walk through this. So when we first get this, open up the box of the 5000 series, you're going to see the difference between the main three models is the 5210 is 2 handheld, the 20 is 2 lavs, and that's what this one's checked as, though it's technically not, because this is actually the 5250, which is the combo, the 1 lav, 1 handheld. Airwave also offers pretty much every combination, and you can customize them. You can, if you need extra handhelds or extra lavs, but you want to have the ability to switch, there's totally options there, as well as upgraded headset options, which we'll get into in a minute. First thing we're going to notice here is the 4000 series had a plastic protective-ish case. It was fairly inexpensive. They've ditched that for the 52 series. As things go, I think most customers probably just got rid of those cases. They weren't, if you're doing like real production work, you'd want something heavier duty. A lot of people install these, so I don't blame them for going to a cardboard box. Okay, opening it up, we'll see what's inside. We actually have a really nice layout. So I like this. The way they've laid this out is a lot nicer than the previous version because everything's all just in one layer. Okay, so this one's been opened, obviously. I'll tell more about that in a minute. So we have a quick start guide, always handy. A manual, also handy. And then you've got the rest of your components. Some things they did smart is that the lav and handheld section it's the same section, right? So if it's 2 lav packs or 2 handhelds, it fits right here. Let's unbox it and take a look. So we've got something that looks almost the same as the previous version until we turn it on. Power brick. Handheld microphone. Now let me put this down here and watch it not roll. We'll talk about that in a minute. And our handy lav pack. And we're going to start with a lav. In this case, we'll try that out. Okay. We also get a headphone cable. We get our rack ears. We get, there should be some little, there should be in here some little BNC connectors. Yeah, because the BNCs actually connect for the antennas on the front, but this is a pre-production model. So I believe I'm technically missing those, but those do come in the kit. Screws for the rack mount, and then 2 antennae, and we're off to the races. Like I said, we're looking at the lav today. However, we're also going to look at the diamond headset. Now, spoiler alert, and we'll get more into this later. I've used the dual ear diamond headset at my church on our pastor since about January of 2023. The price, even not for the price, it's a really amazing mic. It potentially, okay, definitely is the same mic as another popular one out there, okay, in the church market. But these aren't just for churches. So if you're not familiar with the Airwave rack unit, it's a 2 rack unit, but you can put rubber feet on it as well. They come included, or use it as a rack unit. Okay, on the back, just to go over the basics, you have XLR outputs for channel 1 and 2. You have a combined XLR output, which is handy in situations where you have a small analog console and you just don't have more inputs. And then there is a 1/4 inch output of the 2 inputs too, power and antennas. As I mentioned, if you use this in a rack, you would put the rack ears on. There, you would take some short antenna cables around. You connect everybody up here. It works out really, really well. So then, in that case, the antennas live on the front of the rack ears, really nice in front of a rack. Let's plug her in. All right, so we're going to power her up. And again, use this at my church on Sunday. We gave this a test, and it worked out really well. We were really happy with them overall. So we're going to power it on. First thing we're going to see when we power it on, even though we should put the antennas on, I suppose, is that the display, by the way, the antennas are labeled really nice with the frequency range, which is cool. But we're going to see on the display, turn it around, It's why, yeah. So they've gone with a much more modern white look on the display. Again, does that really matter in the sake of life? No, but it does look nice. It's easier to read too. It's easier on the eyes. We like it. Okay, now features. Okay, so I'm going to take these guys and I'm going to put batteries in both of them. Batteries are already in the handheld. So I'll go ahead and power that on. We'll show you here. Display on the handheld looks really nice. Where is it? You can see right now it's dimmed down, but it's not dimmed down. It just doesn't look good on the camera for some reason. Oh, there we go. So you really have to be on axis, but it looks great when you're on axis. You can see that there. It's really easy to read, has a nice readout. You tilt it, you can't really see it as well, which, kind of fits the purpose, right? So handheld, then we've got our lav pack, and we'll go ahead and battery this up real quick and get that connected. Putting in our batteries, looks like plus that way, minus that way. Lav pack is silver, it's a little slicker, it's a little smaller than the 4000 series. Okay, so that's key. Just going to power that on as well. I use a 3-pin mini XLR for the wireless that other systems use. Handheld wise, we see some improvements here. So overall, very similar handheld, still really great feel compared to the previous generation. But a couple things you'll notice is one, they have notched the band around the windscreen so that when you set it down on a table, it does not try to roll, which I think is great. This is something that some other microphones like the SEV7, which I really like, have used on wired handhelds for a number of years. In my mind, of course, that's a more valuable feature on a wireless because a wireless is more likely to be out there not on a mic stand. And so I think that's great. I think that's an awesome improvement. I wish more companies would do that. The capsules, by the way, you can take them off, and there are just a couple screws. You can pull the capsules off. You can change them with other popular capsules that you might find on the market, perhaps any that are compatible with Shure microphones. And so that's what we'll say there. If you have capsules, if you have like the SEV7s, or you have, some other microphone that you like on your wireless, they will fit on these as long as they also fit on that other brand. Sure, as we mentioned, okay, that's what we found. We tested it. Battery door is really nice again, all metal. And so you unscrew that. The IR window for syncing to the transmitter is here. And the window for this one actually does not exist. Okay, so that's the difference as well too, is that the new 5000 series, you just have an up and a set button on the lavalier pack, okay? And so you're able to set those up and, get into the menu just with these two buttons, change everything, and off to the races you go. So, what do we like about these mics compared to other wireless on the market before we get to the audio test compared to the previous generation of Airwave? Number one is, of course, the really nice bright screen that's easy to use is great. Okay, they offer just a really simple setup for getting to any menu settings where you just go in here, set, you hold set, unlocks, then set, and then you're able to switch between all of the various options. You're able to set them up and down with the arrows, and then you let it go for a second, it'll lock back up. When you do need to set up a handheld, you will just hit ASC here. You will hold the handheld up to the window, unscrewing the battery cover to get to the window, and it syncs right up really nice and fast. Again, on the lavalier side, in this case, I've got that on channel 2. You can also do it. Does appear to be on the bottom, but you can also do it there on the screen. So let me just go and change to a totally different channel. Hopefully this one's clear. We'll set it, we'll hit ASC. That is another great improvement too that my children found very fast. Okay, so the window is on the bottom for the lav. I thought you just set it up. There is an up and a set button, so you can totally set it up with the buttons, but you can also sync it with the IR data, and the window is on the bottom. As my children found out, the IR data sync now has a little LED behind it that blinks whenever it's active. And so that's kind of handy too. Again, not 100% necessary, but just a helpful add-on to know that when you're hitting that button, you see it light up, you know it's working. It's pretty quick anyways, but just a nice thing to have. All right. And so let's go ahead, guys. And we use these at church on Sunday, but I'm going to go ahead and plug up this lav. When I talk to Airwave, when we look at the lav, like we reviewed it on the 4000 series video, this lav is not going to blow your socks off. It is free, it is included, it is not amazing. That being said, it can get the job done. The body pack's nice, the clip is nice, appears to be replaceable. Everything about it we're pretty happy with. And the biggest thing with Airwave that we like is just it hits such an insane price point. Like when you compare two channels of wireless mic to a lot of the other brands on the market, you're just not going to get anything of any level of quality at this price. Are there things that I wish that these mics had before we do the audio test? Yes. I wish I could lock my transmitter so that the button didn't do anything, right? I mean, this button's not that easy to hit, but still, we used it on Sunday. We had somebody from the congregation doing the scripture reading. They got up there, they hit the button and they muted it. And, you know, it was just a quick, hey, you know, from the back of the room, and they got it right away. But it was still a disruption. And so that's what I would love to see. I know Shure has it on pretty much all of their models, the ability to lock out the transmitters. And I would love, 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 love for Airwave to do that. Okay. And that's definitely a request that I've already made prior to this video. Other than that, though, I mean, like what you get for the cost, you know, at the time of this recording, I mean, it's cheaper than a Shure BLX, cheaper than the lowest model Shure XSW, and it's much nicer. It is a step above those units, in my opinion. Again, like the biggest thing that they're missing is the ability to lock it. And that's not necessary for every use, right? That's really, in my mind, that's like for church usage where there are lay people, people that aren't used to using a microphone, right? If you're using it for a band, if you're using it in a space where it's kind of the same people all the time, then you can train them not to hit the button. It's just a fairly large button and it's a little bit low, so it's fairly easy to hit it when you're holding it. I would love to see that locking. But hey, let's dive in. Let's listen to some audio. So I'm connecting it up here. We will do the mix output into our mixer. I'm going to mute both of these on the transmitters. And then let's walk over and take a listen and see what we think. All right, so now here we are on the Airwave. I'm doing the handheld first. Just to walk through, actually I got to pull the high pass off, is just like the 4000 series, we definitely notice handling noise with these microphones. There's definitely some handling noise going on. And, you know, anything else I hear, I think is just noise from our studio, honestly. There's some fan noise behind us, some moving lights. Like, other than the handling noise, we were really happy with it on the Sunday morning. Where I ended up with my EQ at church, I was about here, you know, 150-ish on the high pass, maybe a little lower, and I think I did just a little something like this, and just a little brightness on the high end. And for spoken word, it worked really well. That got rid of the plosives. Compared to our existing mics, which are XSWs from Sennheiser, they're a little bit older though, which have the E835 capsule on them. Comparing it to those, like, we have a lot of problem with those mics, even though they are a dynamic mic, as this mic is. We have a lot of problem with the S's on those, and that is a mic where the new models are actually more expensive than this, so definitely I prefer this handheld to those. Again, the low end, the handling noise could use some improvement, but remember, you can use your capsules from other brands on these mics. And so with the Airwave, if you get really up on the mic, yeah, you know, it really has a lot of low end, a lot of proximity effect, but you can get rid of that. You can get away with that, or get away from that, because of the fact that you can use whatever mic you want. And I wonder if if it has to do with that other wireless. Anywho, I just hear a little something in my headphones that I did not hear through the PA system at church when I was testing these. So we'll put this down. Let's switch over to the lav. All right, here we are on the lav. And yeah, like, you can probably hear there's a lot of handling noise if I touch it. It's not an amazing sounding lav, even if we flatten it out here. It's definitely inexpensive, so we're not going to spend a lot of time here. Let me mute this and let's move over to the Airwave headset. So here we go with the Airwave HSD Diamond. So this is the Diamond headset. And we have used these week in and week out at my church and been really happy with them. Like, literally just a high pass filter, you know, something like this. And with some of our speakers, we just do just a little bit here at the top like this. And in the high mids, and this might be our PA, but we just do just a little bit of a drop somewhere kind of in the 500-600 range, okay? And that's typically all we do to this mic. I can tell you the first week that we had it on, but the first week we had it on, I actually had the EQ disengaged, and I was really happy with how it sounded. We've been using this for about a year and a half. It's been very reliable. Of course, like any headset mic, it has detachable cables, and we'll review it fully on our other channel, but I think it sounds like I'm brushing up against something here. But overall, we really like these headsets. We've been really happy with them. So let me put on the windscreen so that you get a more fair review. All right, so now we've got the windscreen on. That improves things a lot. Any of that little clicking, popping that you heard works a lot better. Like I said, we have the dual ear version, which is the same exact microphone. It's just the headset mic kind of fits into a little rig for both ears. And what I found with that rig is it helps presenters, especially in like a pastor type situation. Once you get it dialed in and you get it in exactly the right spot up to their mouth, they just pop that thing on and the placement is spot on and perfect every week. And it just never moves and it's always the same placement and it always sounds really good. All right, so to wrap up this review, let's talk about kind of the pros, cons, and what they've improved from the previous series, the 4000, that at the time of this recording is still going to stick around. It's a little bit of a lower price point, but there's definitely some pros to the 5000 series. So when you go with less expensive wireless on the market, the biggest thing I think you run into is bandwidth, meaning that you can only fit so many wireless units within a given spectrum. So Airwave has always had like two frequency ranges. There's an A and a B. And for these ones, it's 470 to 489 or 514 through 542. So those are the two frequency bands. However, on the 4000 series, they recommended no more than 2 units or 4 channels within each band without an antenna combiner. Okay, so you can use an antenna combiner to get more. On the 5000 series, it's 6 channels or 3 units. So they tightened that up so you can get more microphones in less frequency space and without getting an antenna combiner. That being said, antenna combiners, though they typically were expensive in the past, Airwave's got their own brand now, and it's more in line with their pricing. Before they were using a different brand that's more available on the market, and they were just a little bit more expensive. So overall, what do we think of these things? If you're looking for a $3,000 per channel, top of the line wireless system, this is not it, right? Airwave is not a high-end expensive wireless system. However, I would argue very quickly, very easily that Airwave is one of the better bang for the buck systems out there. Just in the sense that, like, for something that is kind of at the bottom level, kind of like the entry level stuff that a lot of churches have, like stuff that's not cheap, stuff that's decent, but not really expensive stuff. So it's right in that range. You really get a lot for what you pay for. The construction of the units, in my opinion, is a lot nicer than a lot of their competitors that are at the same price point. It's more in line both in sound quality and construction to stuff that's kind of the next tier up on most products. The only big downsides in my mind are, the lav. The lav is not great. Does it work? Do many of our clients use them in various spaces? Yes. If you want a serious lav, they have a titanium lav, which is really nice. I've done some weddings with it. I've used them on other wireless systems. They were great. And then they have their headsets. They have a few models of those, and they're really awesome too. So definitely check those out if you're like, okay, I want to use lavs, but I want something a little better. I recommend upgrading those. And I wish that the handheld had an ability to, especially the handheld, had an ability to lock out the mute button and the power button. To me, that would just make this like gold, and I would just recommend these to everybody. Still, an awesome unit, recommended for a lot of uses. Just, definitely be aware that you can't lock out that mute button. But again, unless you're literally handing them to people that don't ever use a microphone, you can typically train people not to press the buttons and you'll be good to go. That's what I've done. And, these just, I was just comparing today to some other systems from other brands. For my church, we need a unit coming up, and, at 30% less cost than some of the more major brands and a slightly nicer build, you just can't go wrong with Airwave. So if you're interested, check it out over at aboveavl.com. If you have any questions about the packages, if you need to know what we recommend in terms of headsets or lavs to pair up with these things, you can either add stuff to your cart and request a quote, or just email us through the contact page. We love to help, and we love to help you get the audio, video, and lighting gear that you need at Above AVL and teach you how to use it. So if that sounds good, hang out here, subscribe to Learn Stage Audio, and then when you need stuff, come to us at Above AVL. We love to help. We'll see you guys there. Thanks.